You ever find yourself like talking to someone and all of a sudden you have nothing to talk about, and you know how that makes you feel awkward? Well, fear no more. He'll give you some facts you can pull out at any time in any place. Flamingos bend their legs at the ankle, not the knee. They essentially stand on tiptoe. Their knees are closer to the body and are covered by feathers. Roller coasters were invented to distract Americans from sin. In the 1880s, hosiery businessman LaMarcus Thompson hated that Americans were tempted by hedonistic places like saloons and brothels. So he set out to straighten up one of the most immoral places he could think of, Coney Island in New York. There, he built America's first roller coaster to give New Yorkers some good, clean fun, away from seedier pastimes. Supermarket apples can be a year old. These weird facts might have you changing the way you eat. Those fresh apples aren't all that fresh, per se. They're usually picked between August and November, covered in wax, hot air dried, and sent into cold storage. After 6 to 12 months, they finally land on your grocery store shelves. Before toilet paper was invented, Americans used to use corn cobs. Alternatively, they'd use periodicals like the Farmer's Almanac, which was designed with a hole so it could hang in outhouses. Blue whale tongues can weigh as much as an elephant. Their hearts, meanwhile, can weigh almost a ton and need to beat just once every 10 seconds. Queen Elizabeth II's cows sleep on waterbeds. They apparently help ease the cattle's pressure points. Ice pops were invented by an 11-year-old by accident. In 1905, an 11-year-old boy named Frank Epperson left soda powder and water outside overnight with its wooden stirrer still in the cup. The mixture had frozen in the chilly nighttime weather, and so the Epsicle was born. He sold the treat around his neighborhood and a nearby amusement park and even patented the recipe. Years later, he changed the name to Popsicle because that's what his kids called their Pops concoction. Fruit Loops are all the same flavor. No point in eating around the purple ones. All Fruit Loops taste like, fruit. Other than the wild berry Fruit Loops, of course. Most wasabi paste isn't real wasabi. Wasabi is expensive, so most companies use horseradish instead. Real wasabi is actually milder than what you've been getting with your sushi. Sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins can. By slowing their heart rates, sloths can hold their breath for up to 40 minutes. Dolphins need to come up for air after about 10 minutes. Yes, bleach expires. Did you know that household bleach expires? This home cleaning product lasts about 6 months. The world's largest waterfall is underwater. Yes, there are waterfalls under the ocean. At the Denmark Strait, the cold water from the Nordic Sea is denser than the Erminger Sea's warm water, making it drop almost 2 miles down at 123 million cubic feet per second. Shadows are darker on the moon. On Earth, the atmosphere scatters more sunlight, so our shadows aren't too dark. But on the moon, shadows are so dark that Neil Armstrong said he had trouble seeing where he was going. Some sea cucumbers fight with their guts, literally. When threatened, they'll shoot out their internal organs, which are poisonous to predators. They'll sometimes get rid of their entire digestive systems, but the organs grow back. The U.S. Treasury once printed $100,000 bills. Between December 18, 1934 and January 9, 1935, the notes with Woodrow Wilson's face were issued to Federal Reserve banks, but never went out to the general public, which is probably for the best. There's only one Shell gas station shaped like a shell. 8 were built in the 1930s, but the only one left is in North Carolina. A woman was elected to Congress before women's suffrage. American women were given the right to vote in 1920, but Jeannette Rankin became the first woman in the U.S. federal office in 1916. It's impossible to hum while holding your nose. Normally, when you hum, the air is able to escape through your nose to create the sound. And of course, it can't do that when you're holding it shut. This is one of the weird facts you can test out for yourself. Go ahead, try it. Octopuses have 3 hearts. Squids do too. 1 pumps blood to their whole systems, and 2 are dedicated just to the gills. The Eiffel Tower was originally intended for Barcelona. The Spanish city thought the design was too ugly, so Gustave Eiffel pitched it to Paris instead, as a temporary landmark during its 1889 International Exposition. French critics didn't like it much either, though. In the Philippines, McDonald's serves spaghetti. Some of these weird facts are very unexpected. The pasta comes with a beef tomato sauce and a piece of McDo fried chicken. British military tanks are equipped to make tea. There's a boiling vessel inside so the crew can make tea and coffee anytime, including during battle. How frightfully English. Researchers once turned a live cat into a telephone. Princeton researchers Ernest Weaver and Charles Bray took out a cat's skull and most of its brain to connect the animal to electricity. When they spoke into the cat's ear, the sound could be heard through a phone receiver in another room. The twisted experiment paved the way for cochlear implant developments. Dunce caps used to be signs of intelligence. 13th century philosopher John Duns Scotus believed that a pointed cap would help spread knowledge from the tip to the brain, and his Dunsman's followers wore them as a badge of honor. In the 1500s, though, his ideas became less popular, and the meaning of the dunce cap was turned on its head, becoming something of a joke. Adolf Hitler was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Don't worry, the Swedish politician who sent the letter of nomination in 1939 meant it ironically and withdrew his nomination. In an even more ironic twist, Hitler had banned Germans from accepting the awards 4 years before his own name was thrown in the ring. Lobsters taste with their feet. Tiny bristles inside a lobster's little pincers are their equivalent to human taste buds. Meanwhile, lobsters' teeth are in one of their 3 stomachs. Musketeers bars got their name because they used to come with 3 flavors. The original 3 Musketeers bars of the 1930s came in 3 packs, with a different nougat flavor in each: vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry. World War II rations made that triple threat expensive, so the company cut down to 1. The Empire State Building has its own zip code. The shortest war in history lasted 38 minutes. When the Sultan of British-protected Zanzibar died and a new one took over without British approval in 1896, the Brits were not happy. Tension escalated when Sultan Khalid bin Bargash refused to step down, but the British warships spent less than 40 minutes bombarding the palace before Khalid fled, marking the very quick end of the Anglo-Zanzibar War. Michelangelo wrote a poem about how much he hated painting the Sistine Chapel. One translation of the poem he sent to his friend begins, "I've already grown a goiter from this torture, hunched up here like a cat in Lombardy." Doesn't sound like he was too thrilled with his task. The Statue of Liberty used to be a lighthouse. About a month after the statue's 1886 dedication, it became a working lighthouse for 16 years, with its torch visible from 24 miles away. Strawberries aren't berries. Neither are raspberries and blackberries, according to botanists. True berries stem from one single ovary flower and have 2 or more seeds. Strawberries don't fit that bill, but bananas, kiwis, and watermelon do. A flock of ravens is called an unkindness. They're also known as a conspiracy, which is equally creepy. NASA uses countdowns because of a sci-fi film. The countdown Fritz Lang used to create suspense in the rocket launch scene of his 1929 silent film Frau im Mond didn't just change film history, it also inspired NASA to use countdowns before its own blast-offs. It's not exactly a race against the clock, though. NASA can feel free to pause the clock to check mechanical difficulties. Manhattan ants are an ant species unique to New York City. Biologists found them in a specific 14-block strip of the city. Fancy riding on bikes is illegal in Illinois. That includes riding without hands or taking your feet off the pedals when you're on the street. Some single-celled organisms are bigger than a wasp. The Caulerpa alga is made of just 1 cell, but can grow up to 12 inches long. Pezza candy was invented to help smokers quit. The Austrian Pez creator named the candies after the German word for peppermint. When they were introduced in 1927, they were round mints sold in tins, so you probably wouldn't see a former chain smoker with a Mickey Mouse dispenser. William McKinley was shot right after giving away his good luck charm. President McKinley always wore a red carnation for good luck, but sometimes gave it out as a memento. When greeting the crowd in 1901, he handed a 12-year-old girl, Myrtle, the bloom off his lapel, saying, "I must give this flower to another little flower." Minutes later, he was fatally shot by a man in the crowd. The shortest commercial flight in the world is in Scotland. Yes, it's true. Scottish regional airline Loganair operates the shortest commercial flight in the world, between the islands Westray and Papa Westray, a distance of 1.7 miles, which is scheduled for 90 seconds. Have you ever wondered why there isn't a pink passport? The reasoning is because most countries prefer dark shades of red, green, and blue, since these dark colors look more official, and if they're dirty, it's not as noticeable. The letter Q doesn't appear in any state name. Out of all 50 states, not one has the letter Q in it. Scotland has more than 400 words for snow. There are a lot of weird facts out there, but how many of them involve word choice? In Scotland, yes, there are more than 400 words for snow. There's an American flag on royal wedding souvenirs. The wedding of Prince Harry to American Meghan Markle brought much fanfare and excitement, and that shows on souvenirs, including this coffee mug. There are 5 countries in the world that don't have airports. If you're a jet-setting traveler, it's hard to imagine not having an airport nearby for your next family gathering or work event. However, Vatican City, San Marino, Monaco, Liechtenstein, and Andorra somehow make it work. Here's a weird fact you might know. Cucumbers can fight bad breath. If you don't have a mint on hand, use a slice of cucumber. The last letter added to the alphabet was actually J. You might think that the letter Z is the last letter added because it's the last letter of the alphabet, but that's incorrect. It's actually J. The alphabet that we know and love today wasn't created alphabetically either. That's all. If you like this type of content, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching.